Hello, 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 y'all. I am fortunate enough today to be here with Miss Amber. Amber, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Who the heck are you and are you doing here today?
Hey Ryan, thank you so much for having me. I would have let you steal my thunder, honestly. But I am an entrepreneur. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a private money lender and a public speaker. So I'm super happy to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to jump on.
Yeah, of course. So for you, it's interesting you mentioned those two things before public speaker. What role does public speaking have in your kind of day-to-day work endeavors today?
Yep. So I have been on 5 stages as a public speaker so far. So I'm kind of new into it. I really like it. I want to have an impact on people. I feel like I have a story to tell. And um, in my 9 to 5 job that I did for the past 10 years, I had to be a public speaker, but I didn't have the freedom to talk about like my story or craft what I wanted to talk about.
Right.
And so being able to freely speak to an audience just about life-changing things like scaling your business or growing or changing your life, like I have a why. I think everybody should. Mine is turning pain into success. And so it's been really cool to see that unfold. I don't know why I mentioned the first two earlier. I guess maybe I'm comfortable and that's the
Mm,
day-to-day grind of what I'm doing. So yeah, there wasn't a
okay,
rhyme or reason for the priority.
gotcha. And so what role does public speaking have in the first two that you mentioned before public speaking today? Because normally they're pretty kind of integrated with each other. Normally might be a different case for you.
Yeah, well, as a private money lender, I'm pivoting my business um, to really be the bank, honestly, like not just privately lend my own personal money, but also I'm starting a private credit fund, so I'll be lending to other real estate investors. And so I think when people know what you're doing and you have an audience, I think it can build credibility and trust for sure. So it definitely fits into my goals, but I just don't want that to be the biggest thing that people think I'm about is just building credibility. I certainly think that helps. Um, it's funny because it's like a dichotomy. I say I'm about the money because, of course, I want to raise capital, but I'm also not about money at all when it comes to my goals in life. Like I'm about people. I measure my success in people, like the amount of people I help, the amount of people that I work with, collaborate with. I've had the sweetest and most kind community that follows me. It's a small community, but they're with me, and it's humbling, and I'm honored by that. Honestly,
And where does that community follow you?
Instagram and Facebook. I'm certainly trying to convert LinkedIn and move into that space a little bit, but the main followings from Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, cool. And so it's interesting you mentioned credibility because that tends to be a reason a lot of speakers speak, or at least get video content of them speaking because there's something subconscious about when when we see someone else speaking on a stage, something in our head like positions them as, oh, they must know their stuff. They're on a stage, they're speaking. Um, so it's interesting you mentioned credibility. What impact has public speaking and the credibility you've been awarded as a result of it had for you, and what impact do you think it could continue to have as far as fundraising and all that kind of stuff, because it's kind of credibility, funding, trust, speaking, it seems like they all kind of tie together like a puzzle or a pretzel.
Yeah. Well, it certainly helped grow my network. So the last two events I did one in Las Vegas and one in Denver, Colorado. And I got new followers after that and people like coming up to me afterwards and saying, I want to invest with you just because I liked what you said, which it is scary a little bit for me because it's like, do your due diligence, don't don't invest just because you like me. Although it I am certainly grateful that people feel like I have a strong character. Um, at the end of the day, though, I think the skill set of even public speaking, you have to have confidence. And I have learned as an entrepreneur that you have to have confidence in every part of entrepreneurship. Like you have to be the expert in your deals. You have to be the expert in everything that you do. And that takes a big mindset. I know there was a deal that I was working on a year ago, and there were a few doubters and some underwriters who said, no, we're not seeing these numbers. But the team, like, I know the area, I knew 100% ironclad that the numbers were the numbers. And, you know, I was down a little bit, and it really changed my language after that because I thought, you know what? They're not the expert. They're not the ones with these properties. They don't know. And so, and and by the way, it's all properties in Atlanta where I grew up, and grew up I know the area really well. And so I got to thinking about, I'm the expert in this city. Like I know the Fortune 500 companies, and I know the ins and outs. I know the development. I know what's happening. And I think changing my language to be an expert has grown my confidence in all the areas, like my confidence in deal making, my confidence in growing a fund, and my confidence in public speaking. And I think people can hear that. And I think that energy passes forward. And I think that that's really what it is, because you're speaking and people say, yeah, she knows her stuff. And I do due diligence. So I try to be the expert for sure.
And where do you find these stages? You mentioned Las Vegas, Denver. Where do you normally go about? What does that journey look like for you of finding those stages?
It's so new. So I do have a team that I work with, and we're putting on the events ourselves. So that's one stage where we create the event. There's been a couple that I've been asked to attend, and so that's just in other masterminds that I'm in, and things like that.
And you mentioned something really interesting. You mentioned masterminds. What role have masterminds had in your speaking and just your overall entrepreneurial success?
Oh, I think paying for education is one of the best things you can do. It gets you in bigger rooms, it grows your network. I mean, and it's not even just about the education. Yes, I've been able to level up and I've learned a lot, but honestly, it's the people. And so leveraging every single mastermind to its fullest potential is money well spent for me.
And do you think there's more value in masterminds from the education received or the network built, or both?
Both, but I'm gonna lean 60-40, probably
Okay.
towards the networking. I think you can have education all day long, but without people, you're not gonna do any deals. So
Hmm. And when for you is the when do you think is the right time to take the energy that's being spent hosting your own events to getting and speaking on other people's stages?
when
Mm,
is that the question?
yep.
Now. I
Now.
mean, we're still crafting out some of these events that we're gonna do on tour. It's gonna be another 3 cities. I think that we will do LA, Dallas, and Atlanta. Possibly Tampa, Florida. But outside of those events, like my goals, my long-term goals, my next goals will just be focused on outside stages. So I'm really
Hmm,
excited about that journey.
that's pretty cool. And for other real estate investors and other private money lenders that maybe they don't see the value of speaking, what kind of knowledge would you share with them of, hey, either, come on, get on it, or what kind of knowledge would you share with them that you've learned integrating speaking into your business?
It's an age-old saying, but they say it's not about who you know, but who knows you, and that's so true. It's funny that you asked that. I had a meeting yesterday with someone, and he was from the Denver event, and I forgot why we were even having the meeting, and so I'm just scattered sometimes. Like I have things on my calendar. It was scheduled
Yeah.
several weeks in advance. And so I jumped on the call and I was like, "Oh, I know you. I've seen you." I was like, "Have we met in person?" And he was like, "Yes, I I came to watch you speak, and afterwards you got my information, and I said, can we set up a call? And apparently we set up a call right there at the event, and he just wanted to know more about me. And so it's funny because and we may end up doing deals together. Like, it was a great conversation yesterday. I generally don't set up meetings immediately, but kudos to him, because that was really smart. He came up right after and he was like, let's set up a time to talk later. I know you're so busy. And now I remember it. Like, once he jogged my memory, I remember he was like, everybody's trying to meet you. I don't want to, interrupt that flow. He was like, let me have your contact information and we'll set up a different time where you're not so busy. And I was like, yes, absolutely. So we set up a time. He walked off. I thought, dude, that's brilliant. And then we talked yesterday, and there may be a way for us to work together. And so I think that, to answer your question, that's he knew me, right? Like, I didn't remember him as an audience member really until he jogged my memory on that conversation. But that was somebody who wanted to do a deal just because they saw me speak. And so I think I would tell anybody to get up and do it. Like, if there's ever a chance that somebody gives you a platform, a microphone, a podcast, leverage that, because it's I mean, there's so many people out there, and getting your name and what you do in your face, it helps with credibility. And but be about it. Be a person with integrity. Like, don't just leverage credibility for credibility's sake. Like, if you're not a credible person, um, don't do it. Obviously, don't scam anybody. But yeah, it's very helpful.
And for building your own events, that's a whole nother kind of behemoth to tackle. How did you go about doing that? And what knowledge would you share with other people in that space that they might see it as a giant Mount Everest, right? Me, who the heck am I to host my own event and fill it with people and all that kind of stuff? But you did it. What knowledge would you share about that?
Okay, so it's easier than you think if you already have people that would come. So if you already have a network, um, it's just really all about promotion. We didn't do a lot of promoting. It was a smaller event. We expected 60 to 75 people, and 113 showed up. We went through Eventbrite. We posted certainly on social media. We posted on meetups. So there were, we did like soft marketing. We didn't do any paid marketing at all, which we know would have leveled us up. It was our first time doing it as a team. And I think we wanted a smaller, intimate group to get all the kinks out, make sure we flow together, because we had never done it. And so um, we leveraged the hotel and the conference space and like negotiated down. And I think you can always do that. We actually found someone coming to the event, asked if anybody knew anybody in the hospitality industry. So we leveraged a connection. My business partner used to be in marketing. So, she just knew some of the ways to go about it. In the future, I would ask for sponsors. I think sponsorships can go a long way in helping planning an event. Um, it was smaller, but I think if you start there, the next ones, we hired a videographer, and the content we started putting out afterwards, like, it drove a lot of people. It gave a lot of FOMO. They were like, I want to come to the next one.
Mm.
We got testimonials. That helps a lot. So I think if you just have the vision and start small, I think the next one will spiral bigger. We expect the next ones to be much bigger and really less costly, because we're going to have the sponsorships and we have the credibility behind us from having done the first one. So
And how did you go about building that audience prior to the event?
some of them, I mean, a lot of them were social media followers. Some of them had been people who had done deals with it in the past. So we leveraged them. It was in Denver, and we had people in Denver that we knew, and so we asked them to ask other people. And so that's one of the ways we went about it.
Hmm. And when you look at a stage, you and your team, and you make the decision to go speak there or not speak there, what metrics or factors do you guys pay attention to say yes to that or no to that speaking opportunity?
That's so funny. After this Denver event, when we got a lot of feedback, we did several polls on social media to just see where our followers are coming from, and we listened to the polls. So that's how we were choosing our next cities.
Interesting. And what would you say is your ideal audience that, you speak at an event, you would say, well, if they're a bunch of kindergartners, doesn't make sense for me to speak there, right? Like what factors about the audience do you and your team have to pay attention to say yes or no to that speaking engagement?
We certainly want investors, but our event, we didn't pitch anything. We didn't ask for anything. We literally were there to give value, which we did. So if we marketed it as anyone new to real estate to experienced, and it was very interactive. It wasn't just speaking. I did a lot of mindset, but then we also had activities where people could learn how to get real estate deals and learn how to raise private capital. So we really took what we were already good at and tried to give value to the audience, and we got a lot of positive feedback from that. So yeah, our audience would be real estate investors or any type of investor who just wants to make a higher return on their money and wants their money backed by real estate and working for them. Like, I think anybody would get value because it wasn't just real estate. It was also just growing and scaling your business and doing something that will help your future. And I think we all want a bigger, brighter, financially free future.
Of course, yeah. Is there any specific stage that you have in mind that's like a dream stage for you where you have, maybe you have a vision board, or you're an entrepreneur, you probably have a vision of the next 5, 10 years of what would be successful, right? Is there a stage on that board where you're like, if I could speak on this stage, oh my gosh, that's exactly where I'm going and what I want?
I would love to do a TED Talk. That is my heart's desire. I feel like there are also other big stages. And so, I don't want to stop there, but that's a goal for me.
Really? What's
I
under
hope it
that
wouldn't
goal?
even I hope it wouldn't even take 5 to 10 years. What's underneath that goal?
Yeah, the why below it.
Um, it goes back to me wanting to impact people. My story, so I, I feel like I've I've accomplished things that other people really haven't, and I'm not saying anything negative about anybody else, but when I chose to even start telling my story, and it was a risk. I didn't know if I wanted to be that vulnerable, but I talked about the end of life care that my dad had. And um it wasn't the best, and he did everything right. Like, he lived the American dream. He had retirement, he had social security, and it still didn't pay for the end of life care that he needed. And so it was just the two of us living in Georgia, and I had to put him in a place that was a little further than I would have liked because I wanted him to be safe, and I needed the best place possible. And that was a strain on us. He didn't like being there. I didn't like traveling far. But bigger than that, I also have a chronic disability, and I have mobility problems. I have multiple sclerosis, and there's been times when it's progressed. Right now, I'm in remission, which I'm really happy about. But that catalyst of my dad dying, like, really, it was like, I've got to change my life because I don't have children. Like, I have wonderful friends and family, but I just don't have that support system that like, I was my dad's support system, and I think about my own future and I'm like, I don't know that I have that. So I have to be able to be financially secure for end of life care. And I think that's an important topic that a lot of people don't talk about until they're there, until they're in the moment. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, what are we doing here? How do we get here? How are our parents or grandparents dealing with this really tough situation? And so I thought, I've gotta do this. And I set out in this entrepreneurial journey right then. Like, I still work a 9 to 5, and I started right then, and I scaled so fast. I got a business coach, and I just said, I have to do this. Like, I time is not on my side in terms of where I want to be. Like, it's not just about being financially free for me. I want to turn my pain into success, and I want to have a roadmap for other people to do that. I want them to know that nobody's coming to save you. And I don't mean that in a spiritual way, but I mean that in a personal development way. Like you can save yourself and it doesn't matter what you're going through. We're all going through things. Like you could have anxiety or depression or I mean, a loss of a loved one or a physical disability or a chronic illness. Like we all know that and nobody's problems is greater than the next person. We all have things we deal with, but if you could just turn that hard thing into urgency and scalability, I think it could be life changing. And it has been for me. So after I got my business coach, I scaled 100x in 5 months. And I felt like that was, yeah, but it was because I put the pressure on myself. And now I've kind of pivoted. So I slowed down a little bit, but that's because I'm going into launching a fund and doing these other things. But I think that's the message I want people to know. Like, I have a disability. I lost loved ones. Like, I'm going through things and it's hard. It's hard to go through this stuff. And I still work a 9 to 5. So this is my 5 to 9 or 5 to midnight or weekends and it's a side hustle. And I was able to scale 100x doing it part-time. So I think if people could have that inspiration and if I could certainly give it to them, and it's like I told you at the beginning, like I'm not measuring my success in the scalability. It's in the people that I can impact. So that's my
Hmm.
why.
And what do you think? Well, first of all, that's beautiful. Second of all, what do you think, given the audience of a TEDx talk, aren't necessarily they might be some might be real estate investors. But probably not, right? Um, what impact would you think the TEDx talk and the credibility of that would have on your business?
I think it's a prominent stage. So I think that is, if nothing else, it might help get me on other stages that where there are real estate investors. But you know, you mentioned like what's my target audience, so I did talk about that, but I'd love to impact everybody, honestly, not just my target audience. Like I'd love for people to be inspired to do whatever it looks like for them to change their life. And yeah, so I think that kind of stage would bring those kind of people.
That's awesome. And what you said, it's on your I don't know, your vision board, or in your, you said even less than 5, 10 year vision. Where does it kind of sit in your timeline?
I would hope in the next 2 to 3 years. I
Awesome.
am going to lean into public speaking as a major goal that I'm going to have in the next couple years as I'm capital raising, and I just want to get better at it so I can
Cool.
shoot towards the bigger goal.
Two more questions for you here. Number one, let's say someone is listening and they're thinking, "Dang, Amber, I want to follow you, find you on the internet, keep a little mini Amber in my pocket." Where can they find you?
I would say Instagram's the best place. You can find me on all platforms, but it's just my name, Amber McCollum. I think your name's your best brand you can have, so that's me.
Gotcha. And what is one piece of advice you would want to give the aspiring speakers, the professional speakers, or the entrepreneurs who speak to grow their business?
Be vulnerable, like, tell the truth. Don't try to be something that you're not because I think it comes across, and I think people just wanna hear real stories and they wanna connect and work with real people that go through the same crap they go through. So, my advice would be authenticity is probably the best way to go.
Beautiful. Well, guys, if you're listening here and you found any value in what Amber was saying, or you have a friend that you think might find it valuable, just send it to that one friend. Send it to one person you think would really benefit from hearing Amber. And Amber, thank you for taking the time to do this. And guys, we'll wrap it up here. Amber, do you have any last messages?
I don't have any last messages other than to say, Ryan, you're a beautiful communicator. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having
Of course. We'll wrap it up here, guys. Cheers, y'all.